Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Equipment. My name's Adrian and today we're going to look at the HYLS4000H log splitter. Also available to purchase is the log splitter frame on which it sits, and we're going to show the assembly of that and how to put it together as well. Okay, no time like the present, let's get your splitter out of the box then, shall we? Well, as you can see, I put your splitter out here on the table. It comes pretty much fully assembled. Also comes with a user manual, which I recommend you do read thoroughly. And should you purchase the optional stand, I'm now going to show you how to assemble the stand, what comes in the box, and how to put the two together. Okay, as you can see, I've assembled the contents of your frame or stand here, just to show you exactly what comes in your box. First of all, you'll find you've got 4 M10 bolts, identical, and then 6 M8 bolts with nuts and washers, identical again. Got your 2 rear legs, bottom strut, the main axle strut, and the leg which goes under the other end. Okay. Also with this comes a set of assembly instructions, but having watched this video, I'm sure you won't need it. You will notice that there are no wheels with the kit. So the idea is that you take the wheels off the splitter and fit them to the kit, and then obviously you don't need the wheels up in the air with the splitter afterwards. And that's pretty much what you get in the box with the stand kit or frame kit. Okay, a small selection of tools is needed to do this job, and no actual tools come with the log splitter, as it doesn't need any assembly in its own right, and they're not complicated tools. However, what you will need is a pair of pliers, preferably a long nose pliers, a small adjustable spanner, and just a flat bladed screwdriver. Now, if you do have the luxury of having sized spanners rather than use the adjustable, ideally a 13mm spanner and a 16mm spanner, and not a common piece of equipment, but an external circlip pliers. If you have one, great. If not, we can do the same job with a normal pair of pliers, but the circlip pliers is ideal if you have one. We'll show you why in a moment. Okay, so the first thing to do, they've got little hubcaps on the wheels, and you'll see a slot. Put the screwdriver down the slot and pull off the hubcap. Behind the hubcap is the circlip. Now, I'll show you both methods. If you have a circlip pliers, place the end of the holes, the pins on the circlip pliers through the holes in the circlip, squeeze it and off it comes, and that's the circlip removed. Okay? So that's using a circlip pliers. As you can see, it's really simple. What I'll do is put it back in position. Do you want me to show you that again, it being removed? The 2 holes in the circlip, line the 2 pins on the circlip pliers up with the 2 holes, a gentle squeeze, and off the circlip comes. Okay, now we'll go to the alternative method. I'll put that back on. Should you not have a circlip pliers, I mean they're quite tricky to do. Sometimes you can do them with a screwdriver, but you risk damaging the clip. The easiest way is to take your long nose pliers, grab one end of the circlip and just tweak it sideways across. And you can see it sits in a little groove. You can just grab it with the end of the pliers. We don't want to try and disturb the circlip too much, and off it comes. And as you can see, you can take it off with the pliers as well, and refitting is actually a lot easier, but it can be removed with the pliers. So ideally, if you have a circlip pliers, use them. If you haven't got the luxury of a circlip pliers, they will come off with a set of pliers quite easily. And pretty much once you remove the circlip, that's it, the wheel is removed. Remember when you fit them back onto the frame that the flat face goes towards the frame, so it will be like that. Basically we will put the circlip back on, but we're not going to do this at this stage. So that's basically how you do the wheels. We'll keep those there for safekeeping, and obviously on the other side of the log splitter is another wheel, absolutely identical, so I'll just quickly remove that. And as I have a circlip pliers, I shall use that luxury, remove the circlip, remove the wheel, that's it, it's off, and that's the 2 wheels removed. Okay, so the next job is to remove this foot from the front of the splitter. Okay, for this you'll need the 13mm spanner that I mentioned earlier, or if you haven't got a 13mm, your small adjustable spanner. So the first thing we need to do is to undo the bolts in this foot. Now, using your spanner, the nuts are on the inside. Loosen the nuts. And remove these 4 bolts. Okay. Now when I first did this, I didn't realise there was another bolt at the front, and I started yanking on it, wondering why it wouldn't come out, and it didn't come, and eventually I took another look and saw the 5th bolt. So there are 5 bolts, so undo all 5. Okay, having undone all 5 bolts, just take a little bit of the weight of the splitter, push the last bolt out, lift it up, pull the leg out, and that's it. Okay, it will rock around a little. So just leave it so that it's sort of stable, it's not going to fall on you while you're working on other things. And that's the foot of the front removed. Okay, so let's get on with the frame assembly. First of all, the rear legs, these are the ones, remember, with the cranked ends on them. We'll get those out of the way, we don't need those for a moment. Here, we have the front leg. This is the base, and this is the top. And you see it has this pipe coming out. We're going to take one of the larger bolts, just started in the threaded hole. We can lay it on its back. We'll take this shaft, which is the plain box section shaft. There's nothing particularly fancy about it, it's just a plain shaft. We'll drop it into that hole, and then we'll tighten up that nut, that bolt I should say. Okay, we don't need to go silly with it for the time being, it's just a pre-assembly. So a couple of turns and you'll see that that's pretty firmly fixed in there. And that's step 1. Okay, step 2 is to assemble the axle onto it. Now you see the axle has 3 lobes on it, 2 uprights and 1 sideways lobe. We'll put a second one of the large bolts in there. While we're at it, you'll see there's 2 more nuts here. We'll use the other 2, they go in there while we're at it. So, with the 3 in here and the one I've just used, that's the 4 large bolts all used. Don't screw them in so they protrude into the tube, just get them started so they're in the right place. Okay, next job, pick that up, put it in there. What we're going to do is just nip that up. We're not going to lock it off, just nip it up, because we may have to move it up and down this bar just for a little bit of adjustment when we come to fit the machine on the top. So just nip that so that it doesn't dent the tube, but that's in position. Okay, so the next thing to do, we can fit the wheels on. So exact reverse procedure of what I did earlier on when I removed them for the log splitter. Smooth side in, drop the wheel in place, and trusty circlip pliers, pop the circlip back on, and as I said earlier, you can use the pliers for this, and back on with a little hubcap. That's that one. Flick it over the other way, and we can put the other wheel on. Again, exactly the same, flat face in, circlip next. Circlip on the end, drops in the little groove, and the hubcap. Okay, and that's the basics of the pre-assembly of the frame done. Now what you will see is that these 2 legs are going to drop into here, and there's one there and one there. And these 2 angles, if you bring it to the camera there, will be pointing inwards. But we can't put these in here yet because you'll notice that there are holes in the shaft. And these are going to slide over the original axles. So what I'm going to do is, I find this way easier, is to assemble these bars onto the splitter itself. Then I'm going to have the splitter on the bench in front of me here with the frame there. I'm basically going to pick the splitter up with these 2 bars, drop them in the holes, drop that in the front, and that's the assembly done other than finishing the bolting. Okay, so next stage, as I said, is to take the splitter itself. Just make a bit of room. And I'm going to tip it on its side. Right. As I was saying, you've got the large hole in the tube, fits over the old axle, and then you'll see the small hole in the top, in this cranked end, lines up with the hole in the splitter. So that's that in position. Then we have a nut and bolt. Now the simplest way to do this is to put your hand inside here and feed the bolt up from the inside, and that way you're not trying to fiddle about with washers on the inside and nuts. So you can grab the bolt, I've had a bit of practice at this, feed it up from the inside, just hold it in position, on with the flat washer, on with the spring washer, and on with the nut. I'm just going to do it at finger tight so that it's still got a bit of play, so that I can have a bit of adjustment to get it together. Okay, that one done. I'm going to turn it over the other way. I'm going to be careful not to damage the power cable while I'm doing this. There we are. I'm going to go right up and over the other way. Try to bring it back here so you can see what I'm doing. Can't really give you a great view of this. Again, over the axle, line up the two holes, another nut bolt and washer. And inside, bolt through the hole, flat washer, spring washer, and nut. And I'll just nip them up. So, okay, the next stage is to fit the splitter onto the frame itself. As you can see, with the two legs we used earlier, they're going to drop into these holes, and with this V-shape here, it's going to be covered over by this V-shape here. Now then, this machine weighs 40 kilograms and the frame too. It's a 42 kilogram machine. If you are on your own, yes, you can lift it up. Can you imagine the frame being on the floor? You could lift this splitter up, get it in line, you know, holding everything still, and drop it into place. Okay, you could. But it's over 25 kilograms, health and safety and all that. Ideally, get some help, get two of you, so you've got two people doing it, and then there's no risk of hurting your back or anything like that. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to ask for my assistant Chris to give us a hand. Okay, can we have a hand, Chris? Thank you very much. Right, we're going to stand it up first of all. Okay, you've got your end. Yep. Just going to be careful with the cable so that we don't trap it. I'll put your end at your end and my end at my end, seems to make sense. Right, okay, if you want to drop that into the V, right. And I'll get these two legs. Oh, just pop them into the hole. Gone in too much on the one side. That one. And that one. Come on, there you go. There we are. In. And that's in position. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, as you can see, a bit of a wriggle and jiggle. It would be much easier if it was on the floor, but I need to keep it up here so you can see what I'm doing. Right, having assembled it, we'll just set this position on this bottom bar of this axle. You just spin it round before I tighten anything up. Just be careful at this stage because we have no bolts in the front as yet. Okay. What I'm looking to do, I've got a nice upright here into the frame, upright across the bottom, and I want to get these legs pretty much upright as well. So if I just loosen this nut off again, I need to adjust it slightly, and just push it forward until that looks a nice 90 degrees. Then I can tighten up that bolt. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That should do it. Again, the other two bolts, tighten those. No need to go mad with these, so long as they're tight. If they do come loose, you'll notice, you'll hear it rattling and what have you, and you can tighten them back up. But no, it is possible by using a spanner to tighten these all the way in, and it'll actually crush the tube, so you don't want to go too mad with them, but enough to get a good grip. Normally just a couple of turns and that'll do it. Right, we can just finally tighten this front one now. 1, 2, 3. So the lower part of the frame assembled. Now, as you knew earlier on, we put these bolts in here. I've only done them finger tight, we shall do those up shortly. So the next thing, safety first, is to get the bolts in the front here. Right, let's bring this back over for you. Let me come around that side. Okay, pretty much a reverse of what we did earlier on. Okay, so now we need to get these bolts in. So, okay, if I start with the back ones, and put the two back ones in. Sometimes you've got to wriggle it and jiggle it a bit to get the bolts in. That's that. And then we need to fit, same again, the washer, spring washer, and then the nut on the inside. You could put them from the inside out, but you're going to have these bolts sticking out on the outside in an area where you're likely to be working. You might catch yourself on them and what have you. So it's probably best in this case to do it this way. So, let me go around the other side to do this. Right, washer, and a spring washer. Okay, can't show you this, is actually inside. And then that's one in place. Okay, same on this side. the second one in, washer, oops, wash your spring washer and nut again, and repeat the operation until you've got all 4 in, and just tighten them up finger tight. Once you've got all 4 of them in position and they're finger tight, go around with a spanner and tighten the 4 up. Okay, so just get the last couple in finger tight. There's that one. Again, washer, spring washer, and the nut. There we go. And then finger tight. As I said, go around afterwards. You can hold the nut on the inside and tighten up the 4 bolts until they're tight. Now these you can tighten up fairly tight. That's one. And there we are, doing this blind. Okay, and the same with the back one. Back one on this side. That's those 4 tight. And once you've done those, don't forget to come back to the back and tighten these 4 as well. Okay. The good thing with these is once you've tightened them up, they shouldn't shake loose, because they do have spring washers as well, which actually locks the nuts into place and they shouldn't come loose. Yeah, that's that one. And the other side, exactly the same. And that's the frame assembled. So do remember, once you've finished, to go around all the nuts and bolts and just check that you've tightened every one up, just in case you've left any loose. And that's pretty much how to assemble your log splitter onto the frame. Right, so I've put the machine down on the floor now so I can show you a bit more easily how to operate it. One thing I will mention, if you're on your own, it's quite a heavy unit, as I said earlier on, to handle on your own to pick up. I have to do it up here, as you recall. As long as you've got this little valve shut, this butterfly valve on the front of the machine, which is a breather, you could turn the machine upside down and assemble the frame down onto the machine that way, and that way you're not lifting the heaviest part of the machine. As I said, it's 42 kilograms, and it's on your own, it's a bit of a struggle. As you can see, we struggle to show you, but it's the easiest way to show you. Operation wise, to use it, first of all you need to open this little bleed valve. Probably 1 turn. It's a little plastic butterfly knob. Just unscrew it anti-clockwise 1 turn, and that lets the air out of the cylinder when it's going back and forth. Okay? The next operation to make it work is this starts the electric motor. I'll just show you that. And then this lever at the back here, I'll just spin this around to show you. This lever at the back here actually sets the hydraulics in motion, which is going to split your log. Okay. Right, so as I said, two-handed operation. If you let go of either of the button or the operation handle at any time, it'll return to the home position. And that basically stops you being able to put your hands. You've only got 2 hands. Can't think of any people with 3 hands, but you've only got 2 hands. You're using them both here. You can't get them trapped. Okay. Always split your logs lengthways. That's going with the grain, along the grain of the log. And that's what it's designed to do, to split logs along the grain. If you put a log in sideways, sort of this ways on, you're trying to cut across the grain, and it will not have the power to do that. It's designed to do it long ways. It's got 4 tons of pressure, but it would take a great deal more than 4 tons to cut a log that way. That's where a sawing operation would come in. But lengthways, it'll split them in seconds, as you'll see later on. Okay, well that's a little bit about the operation of it. When you're transporting the unit, always close that little bleed valve, because if it gets tipped over in the back of your van or wherever you've got it, it could leak oil from there. So always close the little bleed valve here during transportation. Okay, well I think we'll take the unit outside and do some splitting. For safety, it's a two-handed operation, and I'm going to wear safety glasses just because I've got in the habit of doing it, but I recommend you do so as well. So I have two-handed operation. I start the motor, push the lever, split the log. Simple as that. Here we go. That's split. Simple as. And if you want finer sticks, let it sit on its back, do the same thing again. There we go. And if you want some firework sticks, just for lighting the fire, that sort of thing, really narrow stuff, we'll split it again. And there's the log splitter, simple as that. Okay, so let's challenge the machine with something a little larger and go for something with a maximum length and girth then, shall we? There we are. Like butter, like a hot knife through butter. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration as much as I did. Now, importantly, don't forget to register your warranty. Now, there is a little sheet that comes with it that explains how you can do it. You can write it onto the sheet and post it back to us, or you can visit hyundaipowerequipment.co.uk and register it online, or you can also do it by phone, but all the details are on the little sheet, so don't forget to register your warranty. Okay, well I hope you have many hours of satisfactory splitting with your machine there. It's a wonderful piece of kit. I've been Adrian, and happy splitting.